So we have here now present active participle of ginosko, knowing, knowing something. Ginosko. And this is the present tense, and it's a progressive present. While you're encountering the test, you know something. And here comes the bombardment of the testings. It could be 1, 2 testings, 3 testings. It could be all of them at the same time. Meanwhile, you know something. But in order for you to know something, you have to have what inside of your soul? Doctrine, doctrine, doctrine. Doctrine. Specifically here, the doctrine of certain testings. The doctrine of momentum testing. What about providential preventative suffering? What about evidence testing? The doctrine of suffering, the doctrine of renewal, the renewal of Christ, the doctrine of the divine power sphere, knowing that you have that power. Okay, so you have to have a series of doctrines together so that you can say knowing. So this is the present tense, it's a progressive present. For all the time that you're suffering, you know something. And this is what induces or produces the pure joy, because you know something. The active voice, you produce the action of the verb of knowing something, knowing the doctrine. You made the action of intaking the Bible doctrine before so that you could be prepared with the necessary Bible doctrine in the midst of suffering. And the participle, I go ahead and translate it as causal. Why do you consider it pure joy? Because you know something. That's what makes it possible for you to consider it pure joy. If you do not know something, how the hell can you consider it pure joy? You would have to delude yourself. You would have to tell yourself, this is pure joy, this is pure joy. I don't know. You have to tell yourself a lie. No, but you have the Bible doctrine. And so we can translate it, since we know, because we know. Because you know, since you know. And then what do you know? That hoti, gives it the content. That todokimion, and this is the test for the purpose of approval. So, dokimos, dokimatsu, is different from peirasmos, peiratso, in the sense that this is testing for the purpose of approval. Peirasmo is just the pressure, the testing itself. It could just be also temptation. Knowing that you're testing for the purpose of approval, yours, of theis pisteos, of your doctrine, the testing of your doctrine. See, you have to have Bible doctrine, the faith. Faith, as long as you understand that it has to do with breathing in and breathing out. You breathe in the doctrine and you breathe out through the application of Bible doctrine. Pisteos. Knowing that the testing for the purpose of approbation of your doctrine, katergatsetai, this is the present active. This is active indicative of katergatsomai. And it's a word that means ergatso, means to work, and then kata down, so it means to work something from the inside out. Produces, works out, brings about. It produces. So the testing for the purpose of approbation of your doctrine produces hupomonein, and this is the anarthros, emphasizing the high quality of patient endurance, of staying power. It is high quality. This is one of the bases of happiness in the midst of pressure. This is a basis for stability in the midst of pressure, the basis of tranquility, of being content with everything that you have in the midst of pressure. Hupomone. And so consider it pure joy, consider it all joy, all inner happiness, my brothers, whenever various testings fall around you, bombarding you. Since you know, because you know that the testing or the approbation, testing for the purpose of approval of your doctrine produces, and this is the present tense, this is a gnomic present for something, a general timeless fact, something that happens all the time. If you have the Bible doctrine and you encounter the testing, it always produces hupomone. But by way of application, this is also the progressive present, because this is what happens to the believers who are applying the Bible doctrine at this moment in the midst of pressure. Produces hupomone. Okay. Verse 4, what does it say? And then here we have, now this hupomone, this is the article pointing back to the anarthros hupomone. This is also known as the anaphoric use of the article. We can translate it to demonstrative. This hupomone, this patient endurance. And so we have a third person imperative. How do you translate a third person imperative? The second person imperative is easy. You do this. But the third person, he have this. Let, that's the traditional way to do it. Let your hupomone, your patient endurance, have, because we have echo, the present active imperative of echo. Ejeto, echo. So your patient endurance has to have something, has to produce something. Ergon teleion, a complete work, a complete production. This is divine good production. So your hupomone in the midst of pressure produces the complete production, the achievement of reaching gate 5, gate 6, and gate 8 of the divine power sphere. And so this is for all this, the reason why I'm going over this verse is to demonstrate how the testing improves your, so to speak, how does it, yes, for growth, for your relationship with God, okay? I hate to use such words as improvement. As you can see, I'm part of the generation of self-improvement books and improvement this and improvement my ass and all this, pardon me, improvement of me, this, and all this human stuff, human power, human dynamics. And so I'm hesitant to use the word improve. But yes, you grow. This is for the purpose of spiritual growth, for your relationship, vertical relationship with God. Let your patient endurance have the complete achievement. This is the passing of the test. It can be also divine good, as long as you understand that divine good is that production of gate 5, gate 6, and gate 8. And then we have here, hina plus, yes, for the purpose, so that, or in order to that, y'all may have, and we have present active subjunctive. Y'all may have subjunctive mood is potential. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. If you follow the imperative, let your patient endurance have the complete achievement, the complete divine good production, so that y'all may be, what is it? Teleios, mature. This is going all the way to gate 8. You see what it means? You see what I'm saying? Let the divine good production achievement occur. Let it have it. And in other words, gate 5, gate 6, so that you can be mature, teleion, and complete, not lacking anything as far as Bible doctrine is concerned, as far as the problem-solving device is concerned. And then, yes, not lacking in nothing, meibeni, not lacking anything. So this is the vertical purpose of suffering. Now, that was the vertical one, as I mentioned. The horizontal one, that's for people who are watching you, and we've already encountered this passage, 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 7. Let's begin at verse 7. You remember this? But we have this treasure in earthen vessels. What is this? This treasure is divine power, omnipotence. Earthen vessels is your body. There has to be a great contrast between omnipotence and the vessel, us, so that it can become obvious that it's Him who does the work, not us. Here we have, so that the power beyond comparison is from God, or might be from God, from the source of God, and not from the source of us. Look how the NIV translated it. To show that this all-surpassing power is from God and not from us. So yes, to show, to demonstrate, that is, the NIV got it right. This is the idiom that is demonstrated here. The contrast between power and the earthen vessels is to demonstrate that the power is from Him. It's not from you. This is one of those things that can happen in your spiritual life, that you're advancing, you find yourself in the midst of pressure, having hupomone, but you can be in trouble of thinking that it is you, of assuming that it's you who has the power to do it, that it has been you the whole time that's been able to have the power to stay, to have that hupomone. And so God takes care of that by sometimes allowing the pressure to be cranked up, or cranking down, allowing the pressure to be cranked up so that you can feel it a little bit, and so you can rely more on him. Well, I don't know if I could explain that correctly, but yes, it does happen. That he allows the pressure to be cranked up a little bit so that you can really, really depend on him and be completely aware that it's him who is the one that sustains you, and consequently that it is him who has been sustaining you this whole time in that pressure, so that you can just get it out of your head, squeeze out the idea that it was you the whole time that was able to handle the pressure. So you just gotta stop having illusions about yourself. But God will take care of that. He knows you're thinking very well. So that the power beyond comparison is from the source of God and not from the source of us. And then verse 8 talks about we are hard-pressed in all things and everything. But look, here's the fidelity of God. Here's the application of Bible doctrine of the believer. We are hard-pressed in everything, but we are not crushed. We do not collapse. This is pressure that closes in on you all at the same time. But you are not crushed. Why? Because the fidelity of God, omnipotence, being provided to you, and because you're applying Bible doctrine, the 10 problem-solving devices. We are perplexed, but we do not despair. And perplexed, this is mental pressure. This could go from not understanding something, not having the complete answer of something that hurts you. This can be something about not knowing what decision to make in the midst of pressure. Even though you already have a lot of Bible doctrine, there's always those middle ground areas, those little tiny, inconsequential things where you have to make decisions, people applying pressure, your family saying, so you're going to come or not, but you have to do something else, and what do I do? Would I do this, and all these things? And so that's stuff that really can give you a headache. So much that if you give into it, you could probably say, all right, I'm going to take a nap. I'm drained. So it could be any sort of mental pressure. So we are perplexed, but we do not despair. Even though you are perplexed, you do not despair. You know God is in control. You apply Romans 8:28, and you know that all things work together for good for those who love God. So here we see physical pressure, mental pressure. This is all under the dying of Jesus, all right? And the dying of Jesus in this passage is to demonstrate to those around you that even though you are suffering the dying of Jesus, you have a spiritual life that's alive, and that it's superior to whatever system of handling pressure they're used to. Okay, so, and then verse 9, we are persecuted, but we are not abandoned. This is the fidelity of God again, once again, the logistical grace. We are struck down. This is physical violence as well, but we do not perished. We are not destroyed. So even though you're suffering beatdowns many times, or any sort of physical touch, you're still not destroyed. And then verse 10, carrying around, here's the participle, carrying around at all times the dying, here's that word, necrosis. This is similar to the dying of Jesus from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Physical beatdowns, injustices, mental pressure from people, you name it, system testing, thought testing, people testing, disaster testing. Carrying around the dying of Jesus, to Jesu, in to somati, in the body, and in your physical body. Okay, here it lets you know, why does he use the dying? Because it's telling you that you're not going to suffer the dying of Jesus, the spiritual death of Jesus. This is a unique suffering for him. So he uses necrosis, letting you know that yes, you can be qualified to suffer the dying of Jesus. This is for us, not this one, not the spiritual death of him bearing all the sins of the whole world. But yes, the necrosis, the suffering from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. or anything of that ilk, we can suffer that. We can have the honor of suffering that. Carrying around the dying of Jesus at all times in the body, and then we have hina plus the purpose clause, so that also, the life of Jesus, this is the spiritual life, And now I'm going back to the lamp analogy, remember that? So that the life of Jesus might be manifested in our body.